What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Dungeon Master Experience. In this video, we're diving into the fantastic Dungeon Master Experience articles by Chris Perkins. He's one of the lead designers of Dungeons & Dragons. We'll explore his invaluable insights and advice to enhance your skills as a Dungeon Master and create unforgettable D&D experiences for your players.
What's up, y'all? This article is called Special Guest Star, and it's from May 26th, 2011. And this is the 15th article in the series. If you want to watch all the articles, I have them all on a playlist on my channel. Go check them out. Let's jump right into it. Monday night, Paragon Tier. The search for a lost artifact leads the heroes to a sunken citadel, within which they find an extra-dimensional vault. The vault holds many treasures and surprises, including its mysterious architect, an astral giant driven mad by the passing centuries. Attending him are two angels, an angel of Arathis named Mercion the Ice Reaver, and an angel of Moradin named Karendar the Firehearted. Rather than play all three NPCs myself, I invited two special guest stars, former colleagues visiting from out of town, to play the angels, namely Steve Stan Brown and Owen K.C. Stevens. Alright, so we got two big NPCs, we got friends out of town playing them, and you know what? That's probably better than the Dungeon Master talking to himself for an hour. Or is it? In keeping with my tradition of treating the campaign as a television series, I'm pleased whenever I can get a special guest star to show up for a session or two, even though my gaming group is already quite large. It's a clever bit of stunt casting that can surprise and delight your players. I think it's refreshing to bring new faces into the group, and it gives the campaign a different energy, as well as someone other than me for the regular players to interact with. It's also a good way to give friends who can't commit to joining the regular cast an opportunity to contribute to the campaign, if only fleetingly. I started using special guest stars in my long-running 3rd edition campaign when I found myself in the enviable position of having more people interested in my game than seats at my table. I would include special guest stars whenever a player's absence meant I had a spare chair, and they appeared often and with great success. I use them less frequently now, only because I'm so busy that I often don't remember what an awesome idea it would be to bring in a special guest star until I'm setting up for the game and cursing my short-sightedness. But by then, of course, it's usually too late. It does take some Dungeon Master preparation to make sure everyone enjoys the special guest star experience. To prepare for the session with Stan and Owen, I typed up 3 paragraphs of background information for them to sink their teeth into. Just enough for them to understand their character's goals and motivations. If they weren't playing angels who'd spent the past several centuries trapped in an extra-dimensional vault, I might have also given them a brief summary of the campaign world. But in this case, it actually served the characters of the angels better if their players knew very little about the outside world. Here's what Stan and Owen were told about Mercion and Karendar. Buckle up, folks, it's time for a lore dump. Strap in, get your lore hats on, brush your lore teeth. We're going on a lore vacation. Let's do it. Hundreds of years ago, Arathis, the god of civilization and invention, inspired the servants of Moradin, the god of creation and the forge, to build an extra-dimensional vault, within which was the hidden treasure of bygone empires. The vault's architect was an astral giant named Runor Everlast. After his work was complete, Runor decided to remain in the vault as its eternal guardian. Moradin and Arathis each appointed an angel to protect Runor and keep him company, Mercion the Ice Reaver, and Karendar the Firehearted. Unfortunately for the angels, the astral giant has since lost his grip on reality. Many years ago, a small band of Githyanki infiltrated the vault by some means Runor could not ascertain. Fearing that the vault had a flaw in its design, Runor set about making repairs. Despite his endless toiling, Runor still believes the vault's security has been compromised. Although the Githyanki invaders were dispatched, the astral giant is prone to hallucinations and sees Githyanki in his mind from time to time. Mercion and Karendar are obliged to protect Runor at all costs, even if the giant puts himself in harm's way. However, if Runor is slain, the angels are released from service and harbor no ill will toward Runor's slayers, and might even be persuaded to help them. Both are eager to return to the astral sea, but first they must find a way to escape from the vault. Runor occasionally speaks of a secret means of escape, but always stops short of revealing the details. If I was a player at that game, my #1 priority would be getting into the freaking vault. You know there's gotta be some good treasure in there. If there's an astral giant guardian and 2 fire and ice angels, yeah, there's some good loot in there. Just saying. And I'm not talking about the friends we made along the way and that kind of stuff. I'm talking about magic items. Ultimately, the only things I felt Stan and Owen needed were 1, a reason to oppose the heroes, and 2, a reason to help the heroes. Realistically, they only have 3 hours to make these characters their own, and more detail wouldn't have added much to the fun of playing these offbeat roles. I also don't feel it's my place to tell them how to play their characters unless they ask for advice. Experienced roleplayers will find something to latch onto. In this case, Stan and Owen gravitated toward the elemental nature of each angel. Mercy on the Ice Reaver sounded cold and calculating, while Karandar the Firehearted sounded loud and temperamental. I didn't tell Stan or Owen to play their characters that way. They made the call. However, Stan and Owen were allowed to ask me questions to fill holes in their player knowledge. For example, at one point the heroes asked the angels for more information about the Githyanki Raiders. I then stepped into the discussion and revealed some crucial information, but only as much as I felt the angels would be comfortable sharing with the party based on how tight-lipped Stan and Owen were playing them. In addition to the 3 paragraphs of background information, I gave Stan and Owen unique stat blocks for each angel, but mostly because I enjoyed designing 4th edition monsters so much. I could have easily given them stats for any of the existing varieties of angels, but I wanted the angels to fill different combat roles, and I wanted to make sure they had a decent selection of combat options. Had these angels been designed for less experienced players, I probably would have cut the triggered action powers to make them a bit simpler. Anyway, feel free to plunder these for your home games. And here we have 2 stat blocks for the angels. I'm not fluent in 4th edition stat blocks, so if you want to look at them, they're on the screen. Enjoy. And here on the last page, we have kind of an illustration of an astral giant floating on some spectral tentacles and holding a staff of some sort, and the text bubble says, "Spend an eternity in a vault and see if you don't go mad." Alright, lessons learned. Although they aren't part of the regular cast, special guest stars hold a special place in my heart, and I never use them as frequently as I'd like. Still, whenever they show up, my players take special interest in the session's events, thinking that maybe something big is afoot. Also, the new arrivals usually put my players on their best behavior. To their credit, my players always try to make the special guest stars as comfortable as possible, even if they're playing villains. My players understand the reason behind including special guest stars, and that's to make the campaign experience more surprising and fun for everyone involved. That reminds me of a related story concerning David Noonan, who joined my 3rd edition campaign as a regular player for a few sessions before his character royally screwed the party. Dave and I were the only ones who knew he wasn't in fact making a long-term commitment to the campaign, and his character's sudden betrayal left many lasting scars. You can't really pull that trick more than once before the players start to look at each other suspiciously. Yep, I think that trick is very, very, very played out in current year. Unless you're playing with a group of people that have never played Dungeons & Dragons, having a party member betray the party is just played out. There is no formula for knowing when to include a special guest star. My rule is whenever conceivable, but not so often that it becomes the norm. Unlike a TV show, it doesn't cost any extra money to bring in extra talent. And it often makes my job easier as a dungeon master because the players aren't just reacting to me all evening. That said, remember that too much of a good thing can be poisonous. All you need is someone willing to play for a session or two, and an NPC, party companion, or other character for them to take over and make their own. A couple things to keep in mind about special guest stars in your campaign. A good special guest star is like the tiny umbrella in a pina colada, a fun little element to surprise and delight, or to give your campaign a bit of a stir. If you want your special guest stars to have a good time, provide only the essential information they need to play their roles effectively. Then give them the same freedom you give your regular cast of players to play their characters as they will. Until the next encounter. I think this article is a really cool piece of advice, mostly because I've never seen this thought or advice before posted anywhere. I've watched a lot of Dungeon Master advice videos. I've read a lot of the posts on the subreddits. I've pretty much seen all the common Dungeon Master advice 100 times over. However, this one is actually new to me, so that's cool. I'll give it points just for that. It does remind me of those episodes of Critical Role or other shows where they'll bring on Will Wheaton or some other guest star in there. And I know that is a TV show, technically, and it's not your home game. But you can do that in your home game. Imagine pulling somebody in that doesn't even play Dungeons & Dragons for that 3-hour period. It could be a hoot, especially if it's somebody your party they all know and they like and stuff like that. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. I see people out there clicking like on every video I post, which is really cool. And I know these videos aren't exactly the whoosh, 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 you know, ultimate excitement, stuff moving on the screen kind of videos that you see out there. But hey, I'm reading these articles. I might as well record it while I'm reading them. I'm glad there's people out there that are enjoying it. See ya.